All right. Good evening, WNBA and women's basketball fans, and welcome into the WNBA 365 Network, your 24/7, 365 comprehensive home for everything revolving around the WNBA and the women's basketball landscape. Back with the folks on a back-to-back scheduled night here on Tuesday night, November the 10th, 2015, alongside a trio of WNBA analysts and correspondents. Of course, Eric Nemchok, the writer from today's Fast Break in Elmhurst, Illinois, and of course the two folks up in Los Angeles, Crystal Thomas and Tanisha Stewart, and of course Cal McClure in studio here from Studio 171 in San Diego. How's it going tonight, everyone?
Hey, hey,
Ed, what's
hey.
up with you, Galen?
Hey, I'm doing great. Cold, but great.
All right, folks. Now, obviously, I have some explaining to do. Now, I have probably been off track on the schedule for the week, probably because of either what had occurred, of course, with our move show from Friday because of the connection at the hotel I was staying at in Los Angeles to Monday and everything else included. Now, folks, we were supposed to begin our college coverage on Friday. We'll have to actually postpone that and move it to Monday, along with the rest of our remaining shows for the seasonal recaps, because due to a pretty nice gig I got this morning, we will be moving that because I have a 70-page AAA hockey public address announcing script I have to do on Friday for the San Diego Gulls, the minor league team for the Anaheim Ducks, on Friday night at 7:05 versus San Jose. I got that call this morning to fill in for their main guys, so there will be some cash considerations coming my way for going to the game. But again, we'll be moving our coverage of the college opening day to over the weekend on Twitter, at least. Again, we already had this meeting last night. So that's that, and also again tonight is the Chicago Sky seasonal recap. I know I had said it was the Lynx recap, but I got a bit ahead of myself last night towards the end. But again, we will have no coverage on the network of college, but again we'll have Twitter updates probably over the weekend, perhaps for the games. And again, there will be no coverage on the network on Friday beginning play there for the college season. All right, Tanisha, we'll start with you on a off-the-court story, but it does impact the world of sports and also a team in the WNBA. Attorney General verdict today in New York has officially ruled the online sports websites of FanDuel and DraftKings as illegal gambling sites and not as a actual game of skill as fantasy sports are. Also, they are entrenched with battles right now in lawsuits, including employees of both companies playing on the rival site, you can say, and also for some false advertising as well. Now, Shorty, obviously, everyone's out there saying, okay, why are you guys talking about this? But Shorty, this does impact not only the entire sports world and fantasy sports, but also does impact both the Knicks and Liberty, who have a very big lucrative contract deal in place with DraftKings for court sponsorship. And of course, as we saw this year, the DraftKings had their advertisement on the Liberty jerseys home and away. So, Shorty, in your mind, what does this falling out not only do for the sports world and fantasy sports, how we play fantasy sports, but also, though, specifically with the WNBA and the Liberty, again, who were caught with this company advertising their whole season and also sponsoring their floor and also their jerseys? I know that was a mouthful, but what do you think, though, about this entire situation, though?
Well, for starters, I think that no, due to the situation, it would make sense for the Knicks organization to drop the DraftKings sponsor. That's if they choose to, then of course I think they should go ahead and do so. But I mean, just listening to the court ruling, I mean, it makes sense because I did hear bits and pieces of the story earlier on when there was so much illegal stuff going on, with the employees within the company fixing games and winning money illegally. I think one employee admitted that he won over $300,000, tweaking the games and making it to where he would benefit from the outcomes of scores and things like that. So most definitely, I think the Knicks should drop the sponsor for the Liberty and hopefully find another sponsor that can sponsor the Liberty.
Now, Crystal, I want to quickly do a Venn diagram in the air right now again, because a lot of people are probably wondering what's going on here now, folks. There is two separate forms of the fantasy sports that that you've probably read about or heard about. Now, as you guys may know, you guys may know, well, you guys don't know this, but Crystal, Shorty, and myself are in a fantasy basketball league run through ESPN.com that is not affiliated in any way, shape, form, or size with DraftKings and or FanDuel. This is a full season-long commitment where on the other side of the story, FanDuel and also DraftKings were both sponsors of ESPN's coverage of the NFL, and of course, they are a one-day-only fantasy sports league. It's a one-day or one-week commitment, and you wager in money. It's completely different than what you may actually play, like regular fantasy football or regular fantasy sports for that matter. So I just want to quickly clarify that. But Crystal, though, obviously, as we said, this does impact the Knicks and the Liberty, of course, with all the ads that you see around MSG, and of course with me, even up at Staples Center, there's an entire room or lounge dedicated to DraftKings at Staples Center, right outside of the Star Plaza entryway. So obviously, Crystal, this is very troubling though for the sports world and for us fantasy sports gamers. But Crystal, your thoughts though about the story breaking again? Both of sites actually in turn are illegal gambling sites and not actually a game of skill like it normally is with fantasy sports. What do you think?
The first thing I'll say is New York has been getting caught in a lot of weird situations this season. First it was with Isaiah Thomas, and then now with DraftKings. But I think it's weird anyway when you do fantasy sport like that makes you pay each day for a player. It just seems like fraud to me. It's kind of weird. They're making you spend money to make more money, just to spend it again. To play these fantasy sports. So it's kind of weird. And like you said, there's a lot of arenas and sports teams that have DraftKings and FanDuel all over the place. So I think now you'll start to see more and more arenas take that down slowly.
Eric, obviously, this isn't like, your average, legal gambling a la on a Indian reservation or in Vegas or Atlantic City. This is online, fantasy gaming, of course, and obviously there's been, of course, there's been a lot of controversy with gambling in the sports world between, obviously, going way back before we were even born, of course, with the infamous Chicago White Sox scandal back in the early 1900s, of course, with the 8-man out, of course, them throwing the World Series against the Reds back in the early 1910s, basically, with that whole situation. Of course, Pete Rose, the all-time hits leader in baseball, also caught gambling and wagering games when he was managing the Reds and Cardinals and his career, so on and so forth. And of course, Eric, now we go into a newer generation of gambling or fantasy sports, and of course, FanDuel and DraftKings have had their ads played on sports television and sports radio for a long time, and it's and now that they're under scrutiny, of course, you'll see those ads probably coming down. But Eric, though, in your mind, though, how does of course, the ruling today about DraftKings and FanDuel though affect the sports world, but also though affect a team in the WNBA though that has their ad on their jerseys, on their floor, so on and so forth? What does that do for them in your mind, and why?
Well, first of all, as Crystal said, New York's been getting caught up in a lot of weird situations lately. That tends to happen when you have somebody like James Dolan owning your team. I'm just throwing that out there. But yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people were kind of questioning the jersey sponsorship of DraftKings when they first did it, because I think a lot of people were kind of suspicious of this whole daily fantasy sports thing. It was considered to be gambling by a lot of people then, and now that the Attorney General gets into it and he says, okay, it is gambling, and then you have all this legal stuff, like they still want the tax money, so it says Attorney General is not asking DraftKings and FanDuel to stop operating within state. They just can't accept business from New York citizens. So, I mean, but Crystal's absolutely right. It's going to be a domino effect. I think this is going to be the first of many. I think you're going to see these sites kind of get phased out as the legality troubles build and build up, and Liberty are going to find a New Jersey sponsor.
Yeah, and Eric, I want to kind of bank off what you said as we go back to Tanisha on this one. Obviously, this isn't the first time though where we've seen maybe a controversial sponsor in the WNBA. Obviously, perhaps the Foxwoods Casino ad, maybe, probably not, because this is a professional sports league. And surely I remember telling this to Crystal plenty of times. When I was a freshman in high school, about 5-6 years ago, for my English class, we had to write a persuasive essay about a topic that we wanted to have changed. Mine was actually about the name change here at San Diego State, going from Cox Arena to Viejas Arena, because I felt it wasn't right or wasn't a smart idea to advertise Indian gaming or gambling on a college campus. Now, I know that they have their bookies and it goes on regardless and it goes, undetected on the radar, but I felt like even though it's a college campus, it's still a public university or a public school, and you're advertising gambling. Obviously, I know we've seen ads for beer or alcohol sometimes at a college venue, or even nowadays where they don't even sell alcoholic beverages at college games. Tanisha, going forward, though, what does this kind of say, though, about not only DraftKings and FanDuel and the gambling side, but also perhaps maybe even casinos and other companies that are, I guess, kind of saying gambling is a good idea in the sports world? What do you think, though, and why?
Well, I mean, just a lot of things come up to mind, especially locally here in Cali. We talked about previously, I don't think we talked about it previously on the show, but in an off-air hangout, before the LA Sparks got their sponsor with Equal Trust, we talked about, what kind of sponsors they could get, and we also brought up the Morongo, San Manuel, and, things like that. Casinos, who basically take part in gambling casinos. And, overall, if they pretty much, would allow those things to continue to go on and, get more like sponsors for those, get sponsors from those companies or whatever, then if they allow it, then I guess they'll let it fly. But other than that, yeah, the situation is pretty much, crazy.
Crystal, this is a very crazy situation to have the sports world caught in. Obviously, we talk about other scandals, of course, in like political news and whatever else it may be. But obviously, the gambling in the sports world, though, is also a bigger one, of course, because we've had referees in the NBA that have been, thrown in jail for point shaving or point fixing, for that matter, during playoff series and the finals. And of course, you've had baseball run-ins, of course, with Pete Rose when he was managing the Reds back in the early '80s and the '70s, so on and so forth. And probably more so, the gambling on the college side is probably one thing I would kind of monitor more than the pros. Because I still think, though, it's good, though, to advertise obviously the alcohol sponsors and the casinos at pro games. But Crystal, in your mind, though, what does this whole entire thing, though, really say, though, about gambling in the sports world, though, in your mind, though? What do you think?
You forgot one. You also had coaches going to jail for trading in tickets. No shade, but like Shorty said, gambling and sports go hand in hand. I don't think there's necessarily anything wrong with gambling on sports if it's a pro sport. I know in college I feel like there's a problem because I don't know if anybody in this hangout has ever experienced this, especially being an AU, they make you watch this video. And the video pretty much tells you you can't gamble, you can't do all of that. So I feel as if, NCAA has strict rules, they can't gamble. You shouldn't be able to gamble on a college game of any level. But I think gambling in sports, that's what makes sports sports. I think that's what makes it fun for a lot of people. I just think, as long as you don't go overboard, it's okay. Look at Connecticut. They play near, what is that, their arena, what's it called?
Mohegan Sun.
Mohegan Sun. Thank you. That has a casino in it. So, I think it's okay as long as you do it the right way, as long as you don't make it too dangerous, as long as you don't do it like FanDuel or DraftKings. But I agree, with Shorty, like sports and gambling go hand in hand.
See, and Eric, and that's the thing, though, about obviously with with the Sun, of course, playing at Mohegan Sun in Unkinsville, about roughly an hour east of the capital city of Hartford. Of course, they play inside a casino, and obviously, I'm sure there's been stuff that's gone on. Perhaps, of course, we're not going to speculate here. But Eric, on your mind, though, what does what does the gambling side of the industry, I guess, really though do for the entire world of sports, though, in your mind, though, across both the college level and the pro level, in your mind?
No, Crystal's absolutely right. There's nothing inherently wrong with gambling itself. It's just what it's associated with. Of course, yeah, with pro sports, you're not going to be able to stop gambling in a worldwide scale. It's just not possible. It's not feasible. Of course, but when you see DraftKings and FanDuel, these organizations that are reportedly spending hundreds of $1 millions just on advertising, yeah, you're going to have people wondering like, okay, where is all this money coming from? Is this what's going on here? So I think there's reason to look into that. But no, again, Crystal's absolutely right. Gambling and sports go hand in hand. You can bet on anything, and with sports, it's just super easy. It's fun. There's nothing inherently wrong with it, but with FanDuel and DraftKings, I think it's an interesting concept, but I think they're going to have to go back to the drawing board.
Again, folks, the news that broke earlier in the day, a New York Attorney General has ruled both the websites of FanDuel.com and DraftKings.com both ruled today in a court with the Attorney General ruled today as illegal gambling sites and not classified as a game of skill or a actual fantasy sports league. And again, to reiterate my earlier Venn diagram, again, I'll redraw it for you folks here again, kind of briefly with my left hand. Again, there is a difference between regular fantasy sports and what FanDuel and DraftKings were offering. And now, regular fantasy sports, again, is your regular average fantasy football, fantasy basketball, where you're committed for a full season. DraftKings and FanDuel were not only a pay-your-way into play, but also it was a one-day and or 1 week long season, and you could come back whenever you wanted to, but was played though for actual money, and again was classified today as gambling websites illegally ran. That also included some tomfoolery by employees on both sides of the story playing the other site, and also a story about, though, again, an employee admitting as well that he won over $300,000 by tweaking a game on his one-day fantasy sporting league play-in. So obviously we'll have more about that later. And of course it does affect the WNBA's New York Liberty and also the NBA team, with the New York Knicks both having ads either on the jerseys or ads on the floor at Madison Square Garden. Okay, guys, we'll get off that beaten path and get back on track for our next recap of the season. For the 2015 recap for the Chicago Sky this evening. The Sky coming off a 21-13 season this year, a second-place finish behind the New York Liberty, but the Sky, though, faltered in the postseason to the Indiana Fever in a hard-fought 3-game opening round matchup. Shorty, obviously, we can start along a lot of different avenues for the Sky this season. We'll start with you, though, and also, like we normally do, though, let's get your overall take on their entire season. Go for it, and why.
Well, I just want to say that shout out to Eric. This is going to be his favorite topic of the night, being a season ticket holder for the Sky. But all right, my overall thoughts on their season. So during the free agency period, the Sky made a big splash when they traded Epiphany Prince to New York for Cappy Pondexter. Now, their idea was that they wanted to bring in a guard who had veteran leadership experience and also championship experience. But little did they know that regardless of who they brought in, top star Sylvia Fowles already had her mind made up, and she pretty much let the organization know that she wanted no parts of the Sky and was willing to set out for the first half of the season until they find a trade partner for her. That she did. After it was announced after the All-Star break that she was involved in a 3-team trade, sending her to the Lynx, and in exchange the Sky received Erica De Souza from the Atlanta Dream. Now, even with all that drama surrounding the Sky with Sylvia Fowles, I thought the Sky stayed pretty consistent. They were a top 2 league in the Eastern Conference, and that was due to Elena Delle Donne just putting up crazy stat numbers, which ultimately led her to winning the 2015 Most Valuable Player honors. But, of course, with all that, they finally get into the playoffs in the Eastern Conference semis, and pretty much they let a lot of fans down when they were ousted by the Indiana Fever in a series that I couldn't believe. I thought the Chicago Sky was going to beat the Fever and move on, but that didn't happen. So that's pretty much how the season went down for the Chicago Sky.
Crystal, a lot of different ways here with the Sky again. Another great season for them. Of course, Pokey Chapman at the helm of this team, and a lot of a good season. But again, those stubbing their toe in the postseason. Your thoughts, though, on their entire campaign for the 2015 season and why?
I thought they did well. I mean, Chicago, the Sky have a little piece in my heart, since that's my hometown or whatever. But I thought they did well. I'm not gonna lie. I kind of, once I saw how they played Indiana, once I saw Indiana was playing, I kind of figured they weren't gonna make it that far. They did very well. EDD, like Chris said, had an MVP season, played really good. She came out in the beginning of the season, playing great. The Sky as a whole, I think they played better than a lot of people were expecting them to. They proved that for years to come they're going to be a dominant force in the East. They're missing something. I'm not sure what it is, but they're going to be a scary team, and they're young. They're still a young team, so that group, that core group is going to be there for a while. Pokey Chapman's a really good coach. I like what she did with that team. I like how, I like the pieces that she puts together. So I think they did really well.
All right, let's now hear it straight from the horse's mouth with our resident Sky fan hanging out all the way in Elmhurst. All right, Eric, you saw them way more than we did out here on the West Coast. Your thoughts on your team's season and why?
Well, Kelly, you're going to have to give me a few minutes to unpack everything here because you can't just ask me what my thoughts are on the entire season and expect a concise answer. Let's see. I guess I'll just start from the offseason. I think the trade for Cappy Pondexter was kind of a shock to me, at least, because I think it kind of seemed like we were mortgaging our future a little bit because when you do like a straight-up swap for players who play the same position, Piff is significantly younger than Cappy, it didn't really make a lot of sense to me at the time. Although I suppose, if Pokey knew that Sylvia Fowles was sitting out, which we did a great job of keeping under wraps, by the way. It didn't leak out because I guess nobody cared. But, on draft night, it was a huge shock, obviously. It totally messed up the draft order. Like when we selected Cheyenne Parker, everyone was like, who is that? What? But, no, but all due respect, I love Cheyenne. She's a great person. But, the season, I think it was pretty successful because obviously, getting eliminated in the first round to Indiana, as always, was not great. But considering how Pokey had such little time and resources to deal with the fact that her core piece was suddenly wanted out, and to one team. I mean, it's not like Sylvia said, "I don't want to play here anymore, but you can trade me wherever you want." No. When a player makes a trade demand to one team only, it's really hard to get much out of that. And what we did was, the Sky featured a lot of smaller lineups this season. Started three guards a lot. Started Elena at the 4, Jessica Breland at the 5 before the trade for De Souza. And that, I think, it was a great idea. The league has been trending towards smaller basketball, and when you put Elena at the 4, it's just such a matchup problem for basically any team because of her height and her skill. And then when you play three guards, the Sky actually were second in the league, a close second to Atlanta as far as pace is concerned this season. So they were really trying to push the ball. Cappy likes to push. Sloot is a great point guard as far as pace is concerned. And Atlanta is still young enough to get out and run with them. So, and they also were tops in the league as far as points per 100 possessions. So when you're playing faster and you're scoring so efficiently, that really says a lot about your offense. It really says, what you're doing, the players behind the system. And what's more is this guy actually had the fewest amount of turnovers in the league. So when you're playing so fast and you're also not turning the ball over at all, you're doing something right. This guy has been actually at the bottom of the league as far as turnovers are concerned for a while now, and it just stopped being a problem this year. So that was really encouraging, really encouraging. I think Courtney Vandersloot's play at point guard really had a lot to do with that. She was just incredible this year. Obviously a career year for her. Expecting big things from her in the future. And Yeah, the trade at midseason for De Souza, I could see what they were doing. I could see what they were thinking. Again, obviously their hands were kind of tied because Sylvia wanted to go to one team only, and I think the fact that they were even able to get a third team in there was kind of a miracle. But again, I kind of felt like we kind of mortgaged our future a little bit because De Souza, she's getting up there, her she's past her prime. I mean, she's a great person, she's a great player, but I think it's time to face facts on that. She can't run like she used to, she can't rebound like she used to. But she provides the size, and which was needed, obviously, because if this guy can't control the pace against bigger teams, they're not going to win. So rebounding and size it's still very important in this league. But you wonder about next season. Erica, she's going to obviously want to go practice with the Brazilian Olympic team. So is Clarissa dos Santos, also Brazilian. So we're going to have Cheyenne Parker at center, and that's pretty much it. We're going to have to play Breland at center more again, depending on who we draft, of course. But hopefully nobody else is going to demand a trade, so Kofi can at least have some time to make some decisions. And yeah, basically what I'm hoping for next year is just hoping that Elena can stay healthy, obviously. Hoping that Cappy's got a few more good years left in her, because she played better than I thought she would this season. I think it's safe to say she wasn't fully healthy her last couple seasons in New York, but once Chicago, she had the elevation on her jumper again. She had the elevation on her shot. She was getting out and running. She was finishing at the rim. A lot of basically things that you were used to see Cappy doing that you didn't really see under Bill Laimbeer. Whatever, you can take that as you may, but. Yeah, so hopefully Elena stays healthy. Sloot continues her improvement. Cappy can stay healthy because I think she's got a few good years left in her, hopefully. And make a wise choice in the draft this year, and hopefully we'll be right back in the mix of things.
Tanisha, let's talk about Elena Delle Donne now. Again, a season again that as I had said a few times about either Parker in 2013 and Maya Moore in 2014. How Elena Delle Donne, was, superhuman this year. I mean, what she did for the entire season, leading the team in points per game at 23.4 and 8.4 rebounds per game as well, and her overall play, including that insane free throw percentage too, to the point where over the offseason she was doing a photo shoot, I think, or a video shoot or some news story, making free throws blindfolded, for heaven's sakes, her all-around game this year really improved off year one, year two, and obviously, of course, taking home the hardware of the 2015 regular season most valuable player. And again, as I emphasize a lot here, again, the term value, being more so than most recognizable player in the league, like it normally is in the NBA, where it's a popularity contest. For that award, we're here. It's about the true value to the franchise. EDD clearly exemplified the word value to the end of that word. Tanisha, your overall thoughts about EDD's 2015 season in general? Monster year and a great season. What do you think?
And when we talk about Elena Delle Donne, in the words monster year, yes, that is exactly what she had. Because my goodness, and I mean, coming into the 2013 draft, I mean, everyone knew that she was going to be a special player coming to the WNBA. She's going to be those one-of-a-kind players, and it's already showing off just so early in her career. I mean, in one game earlier this year, I mean, she broke her own, scoring record, dropping 45 points, 11 rebounds, 6 blocks, 2 steals, shooting 19 and 19 from the free throw line in overtime win versus the Atlanta Dream. I mean, those stats right there alone are completely insane. And then when we talk about her PPG, league-wide, she finished top. She finished top 3 in about 4 categories. Led the league in PPG 23.4, third in RPG 8.4, third in blocks 2.6. She was number 1 in free throw percentage, shooting 95% from the free throw line. That is freaking insane. And I mean, all those stats led her to winning MVP this year. And as they say, stats don't lie. The numbers speak for themselves. She had one heck of a year. And, for EDD, I'm pretty sure while, having those amazing stats, in her heart, she probably wished that, her team overall would have went further in the playoffs, of course. But individually for her, she had one hell of a season.
Crystal, a 95% free throw percentage in a season, to put it in perspective, Steve Nash is the all-time leader in NBA free throw percentage for his career at 90.4%, and EDD shattered his career and league-wide record for free throws in a single season, for heaven's sakes. I mean, if that doesn't really speak volumes about, how special a player, Elena Delle Donne is. I mean, between the 45-point game and, of course, everything else we've already brought up here. I mean, a special player that we knew was going to be special when she was drafted 2 years ago. Your thoughts on her entire season? Go for it.
I mean, I think she had a great season. She came in looking really, she's always been in shape. She came in looking even better shape than she was before. You could tell there was an extra sense of focus. There was something else there. She almost tasted the championship. What was it, a year ago, 2 years ago? So now, she knows this, felt like she wanted to get her team there. And like Shorty said, she's probably, and of course, I would be too. She's probably upset, that they didn't get as far as they wanted to. At this point, an MVP trophy means nothing if you don't have a championship to back it up. But she played great. I mean, I think EDD is eventually going to get her ring. Don't know when, only time will tell. But EDD is already a star in this league. She's only been in the league for 3 years, so she played phenomenal this year.
All right, we'll go back and visit our horse in the stable again. And Eric, as we said, you got to see this player really shine in front of your eyes every home game at Allstate or at UIC. And I'm sure you were. I think you were at that 45-point game, and that's by far something special to hang your hat on as you look back at the 2015 season. And of course, we see what she does on the court, but I'm sure that you have either stories that you can share about her personality off the floor. I know she's really down to earth and stuff, and of course her personal story. Rick, though, your overall take though on EDD's entire season, because I know that you were there for a lot of those games that she was playing in.
Oh man, where do I start? She's yeah. Well, I knew it was coming too, but she's incredible. You talk about. You guys know me. I'm not biased. I try to be as objective as possible. But she's the best player in the league right now. It's the things she does on the basketball court. You're not supposed to be able to do for a player of that size to have that sort of skill level. She's so intelligent. She's so skilled. She seems to get better every year. This is only her third season, you guys. You got to keep that in mind. You talk about the free throw shooting. It was incredible. She shot 95%, but she was also second in the league in free throws attempted. So when you get to the free throw line that often, and you're basically money from the line, that's again, you don't see that. You don't usually see that in basketball. Usually, I think it was Angel McCautry who was number one in free throws attempted. I'd have to check that, but
I think it was.
Yeah, but EDD actually she made more than Angel. No, she made more free throws than Angel did, even though she attempted fewer. So it just tells you that she knows that it's a free point. It's a free throw. It's free points, and just her form is it's perfect. I know that I think they broke it down on Sports Science or something like that. But just every step, elbow in, feet towards the basket, follow through. Just something that's obviously been practiced for hundreds of hours in the gym, and the results show on the court. And that's the same with any other part of her game. You talk about her footwork in the post is incredible. Her finishing at the rim has gotten so much better, especially for someone who people were questioning about her upper body strength when she came into the league. She shot, I think it was close to 70% at the rim this season. She was great. She was great in the paint. Kind of struggled with her three-point shot, but when you have a player at 6'5" who can hit the three, you gotta go out and guard her. And then she's just got that sweet pull-up mid-range. She's the most dangerous offensive player in the league. It's not close. There's really not much more to say about her than that. I hope Crystal's right. I hope she does get a ring sooner rather than later. Maybe a few rings. We'll see. But yeah, the best is yet to come.
Yeah, a hashtag I used before I got my degree was "the story is just beginning," and that is what I can really say about Elena Delle Donne. That this is just the beginning of her career story, and again, who knows where where it may take her, or what's going to happen in the middle and end of it. But again, Elena Delle Donne, your 2015 MVP for the league, again 23.4 points per game, 8.4 rebounds, and again a 45-point game and a overtime win over Atlanta earlier in the season, and again your 2015 league-wide MVP. Tanisha, going back over to you now. A topic that was brought up off air by Todd Mintz, one of our one of our fill-in guys again, and I actually went back and rewatched the show that we had done from Honda Center in Anaheim in August, talking about Chicago, and Todd seemed to have blasted Pokey Chapman as head coach and GM of the Sky for reasons I really did not, I still don't quite get, but Shorty, I believe that we had actually had this conversation either off air or earlier on the program, was again about the owner and GM tag being used in the WNBA. Now again, we've already seen a few coaches like Bill Lambier who were both of them that had one of their tags removed. And as I recall, though, I do remember Todd Mintz telling me, though, that he feels like Chicago won't win a championship because of Pokey Chapman being head coach and GM, but also that her either her strategy or whatever it may have been. That's his overall take, though, as he told me earlier in the day. But Shorty, though, what is your thought, though, on the WNBA, though, still using the GM and head coaching tag, though, in your mind? Because I know that we had talked about this, I think, off air, perhaps. What are your thoughts, though, about seeing that still used in the WNBA to this day?
I mean, personally, it's not a surprise because when it comes to certain franchises in the WNBA, especially franchises who struggle returning a profit, it's a cost-cutting move. It's in order for the organization owners to, save money, basically. So why not make the coach both, head coach and GM, give them the keys to the overall team where, they're coaching the team, anyway, so why not let them make their own personal roster moves where they can add and fit pieces to, their liking. And, of course, we see that not only in Chicago, the now Dallas Wings, I think, will continue to do the same thing as they previously did in Tulsa with Fred Williams, making him the same coach and GM also. And as you brought up, they did that with Bill Lambier, but overall, Pokey Chapman, I mean, I really don't think that she's a bad GM when it comes to GM wise. I mean, if his criticism is because of this season, then I say it's unwarranted because things that happened in the moves were somewhat out of her control. I mean, maybe and I'm just assuming on this one, maybe he didn't like the Cappy Pondexter trade. Okay, well then that's his own personal view. But if he's upset at her over the Sylvia Sky, ordeal, well then that was pretty much out of her control. That was a disgruntled player who, made her own personal choice to leave. That had nothing to do with the staff and Pokey Chapman or whatever the case may be. So that was on her part. But as far as Pokey Chapman, I don't think she's a bad GM. She's a great GM. She brought in some pretty good players over the years. I think most recently when she brought in Jessica Breland from the Indiana Fever, I thought that was a great move. Also, I think she's pretty good at drafting. I did love Cheyenne Parker at number 5, which was a surprise because I didn't think she would go that high. But overall, that was a good move. Also, bringing in Benjanae Laney was also a great draft move as well. That was very underrated. But as far as both Pokey, the coach, and the GM, I have no problems with her.
Crystal, I don't think it's really about the Sylvia Fowles saga. I think it's just more so that he's probably just not the biggest Pokey Chapman fan, amongst the WNBA fan base, perhaps for all that I know. But again, though, I think, like I said, though, we had probably discussed this topic, though, again, either on the show or off air. Crystal, though, in your mind, is the GM and head coaching tag overused in the WNBA in your mind, and if so, why?
It can be, depending on who it is. In this case, for Pokey Chapman, no. I mean, would you rather have Pokey Chapman or Jennifer Gillum as both your GM and your coach? I mean, it's bad enough that she's, coaching, but imagine she was your GM. Yikes! Can you imagine? That'd be painful. But I think in some cases it's not overused, but you do have some people who like to abuse the title of GM and abuse their power. But I think, I agree with Shorty. I think Pokey Chapman has done a great job. She drafts really great. She's also a phenomenal coach. So it depends. Like, it goes both ways. It can be if you don't know how to control it, and then sometimes it's a great thing. But in this case of Pokey Chapman, I don't think it's overused.
Eric, you know better than us, and like I've said plenty of times already. Again, and obviously, Pokey's a great person as well, and and I think does a good job as head coach and GM though. But I think though that being both, I think, is a pretty stressful position to put yourself in, being both head coach on the floor and also making, front office decisions for player development and player movement. Eric, you mind though, is the GM / HC job title and tagline still a bit overused in the league in your mind, and if so, why?
Is it overused? No, I don't think it is. As Shorty touched on earlier, of course, it's a cost-cutting maneuver, yeah. But when you look at some teams around the league, you look at Atlanta, there is clearly a disconnect there between Michael Cooper and Angela Taylor. You have a player who's drafted like Brittany Rinko. She gets cut a day into training camp. Like, what does that mean? I mean, and then again, Samantha Logic drafted in the first round, languishes on the bench and is traded a month later. Like that's when you have a coach and a GM as the same person, there's probably 0% chance of that happening, for better or for worse. But again, like Crystal said, it depends on who it is. Mike Tebow was not the GM in Connecticut. Chris Yanko was, but when he comes into Washington, he gets full control of the basketball operations, and he does a phenomenal job. He comes in and you say, okay, we hire a head coach, but he wasn't the GM before. Can you trust him with that? Oh yeah, like he's done an amazing job with Washington. So I think there's definitely something to be said. Yeah, you have a lot on your plate when you're both a head coach and a GM, but it's your team. You don't have to worry about someone breathing down your neck about conflicting roster moves or whatnot. And everyone has their own strengths and weaknesses. Some years I think she's done a better job coaching than GM. Some years I think she's done a better job GMing than coaching. This year in particular, I think she coached better than she GM'd, but that's just my personal opinion. Obviously, you're not going to see a perfect head coach GM hybrid or whatever, but that's just comes with the territory when you have both people running when you have the same person running both positions. Clearly, Michael Alter and the ownership has complete faith in her because she was extended after 2012, I believe it was. And yeah, with these recent playoff runs, I can't see her leaving.
Now, Eric, before we touch base and go back to you again, we want to, us LA fans in here, want to actually give Michael Alter and your organization a big thank you because Michael Alter actually contacted Laurel J. Ritchie to say, hey, call Magic to buy the Sparks and keep them in LA. Michael Alter was the guy that came forward and threw Magic's name into threw his name into the ring to buy the Sparks. So we owe you guys a pretty big chunk of gratitude for that happening. But Eric, we're going to go back to you though on this one because we know that we had touched base on the arena movement by the Sky for the postseason. Of course, they go back to UIC Pavilion on the college campus to play their 3 playoff games. Eric, obviously, I know that that LA also did it, but I was not at that game, the playoff game, sadly, because I had to work that Sunday. I was in Phoenix as well, though, too, for their playoff game when they played Tulsa. Eric, though, can you kind of tell us, though, not only the differences between All-State Arena and Rosemont, which of course is not in Chicago, and also UIC, or what kind of differences, I guess, are there between the actual home venue and the college venue that you saw though for those 2 playoff games you guys hosted? What was it and why?
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, don't give the people the wrong impression. All-State Arena is not a professional venue. Like, it's not even close. But yeah, differences. You got All-State Arena in Rosemont. It's kind of in the middle of nowhere. Like, we got some mean industrial parks around there, but that's just about it. Like, there's really nothing around there, but it's it's by O'Hare Airport. It's in the middle of the highway, so it's pretty accessible from just about anywhere you are. Whereas UIC, we have to make the drive into Chicago. Again, we were almost late for the home playoff game there because the drive was so bad. It was rush hour. It was rush hour going into Chicago. Like, that's not. Nobody wants that ever.
That'll be fun, said no one ever.
Exactly. And a lot of the season ticket holders who were there before I was, didn't really like UIC for a few reasons. That was one of them. Uh, Bathrooms are limited. There are only like 2 there, so it kind of sucks. Concessions are limited. It's a it's more intimate than Allstate Arena in that, I think I don't know if you heard about this, but Elena Deladon really likes UIC for some reason because she feels like the fans are almost on top of her. It's like the seats are so close. She was used to playing in a college arena. She's used to playing at the Bob in Delaware. She's used to the intimate atmosphere where the fans are up close and personal. Whereas Allstate Arena, it's kind of pushed back a little bit. Staff at UIC wins. I don't like the people at Allstate. I'm just putting it out there. They're super pain to deal with. It's so annoying. The one thing I do not look forward to every season is dealing with those people. Don't tell them I said that, because I'll be in trouble. But they'll just give me an even harder time if they find that out. But as far as to which one I prefer, I would have to say Allstate for its accessibility. It's much more accessible, easier for me to get to, and I do. As much as UIC is kind of like I said, the intimate atmosphere, I do prefer it not being a mosh pit during halftime on the concourse. I like kind of walking around, being able to breathe. During the finals in 2014, like during halftime, I went up to go to the bathroom, and like I got to the concourse, and it was gridlock. It was just people like standing there. Where's everybody going? Oh, we're all going to the bathroom. The bathroom is over there. Yeah, I know. It was just not good. It's not ideal. Neither arena is ideal in my opinion, but again, it's not like a situation where the Sparks, where they're fortunate enough to have the Staples Center, or they're not partnered with the Bulls, so they can't use the United Center. They're making do with what they have. I do like the Sears Center in Hoffman Estates, but again, that's in the middle of nowhere. It's a professional arena. It's a more professional arena than Allstate, but are people going to want to go there because of the location? That's not for me to decide, but I would like to see them try and move there maybe in the near future, because this arena, it's just not. The team has surpassed the arena, if you know what I'm saying. Like it's a professional sports team. Give them a professional sports arena.
Now, Eric, if I'm not mistaken, the Sky actually share Allstate Arena with the Chicago Wolves of the American Hockey League, and I want to say that is there a college team that also plays at Allstate as well?
Did the DePaul men's team still play there? I'm not sure.
I believe you can actually see their banners still up in the rafters.
Yeah, the banners are still there. I'm not sure if they still play there or not. And then, of course, the Chicago Rush, the Chicago Arena football team, they used to play there before they went defunct. Yeah, I believe DePaul still plays there. The men's team, they play there. The women don't. I'm not sure why that is, but yeah.
Now, Crystal, you were actually at the Sparks playoff game this year, and much like Eric and the Sky, again, the Sparks were kicked out of Staples Center to accommodate the Emmy Awards that were being hosted at both Nokia at a Microsoft Theater at LA11, also at Staples Center. And, of course, the game was held at the Walter Pyramid on the campus of Cal State University, Long Beach. A thing that I've actually been to, but I've not been there in quite some time. So, Crystal, kind of like the same thing here with Eric, though. I mean, obviously, compare and contrast between both Staples Center and the Walter Pyramid for this instance. What your overall stance on both arenas?
Well, before I get into that, even though Michael also wasn't the GM, I would like to thank the Chicago Sky organization for giving us Chrissy Tolliver. That was such a gift. I will forever appreciate that. We got her for some Gatorade and a bag of Doritos, but the Long Beach Pavilion, the Pyramid, because it was smaller, it was a very intimate setting, very close. It made it look like it was really loud in there. It made it look like we had a lot of fans in there. Not saying we didn't have a lot of fans at the playoff game, but it looked good for TV because I know that game was broadcasted. The only thing that was weird about it, it was kind of like Eric said, the bathroom situation. You have a lot of people rushing towards the bathroom, and you got people. The aisle isn't that big, so you have people just walking all over you and stepping on you, and that was the only thing I didn't like. But the setting for a playoff game was really well. It was really good. You know, it was very intimate. It looked great in there. It sucks, though, unfortunately, that this keeps happening to WNBA teams, that they book something and, you know, scheduling conflicts. That's a huge problem. That's something that the league has to work out and figure out going along the way. But the pavilion, it was the pyramid. It was okay. It's you know, it's obviously not a professional setting, but it did its job. I would have rather preferred probably USC because it's a little bit bigger, and Long Beach is a little bit too far, but it was fine. It was okay.
Tanisha, I recall during the offseason when we were all, spreading the petition like wildfire, and of course there was a story written by Albert Lee about possible venues for the Sparks outside of Staples Center, and of course they brought up USC and UCLA and other college venues, and of course there was the Forum in Inglewood, and there was the Sports Arena in LA before that's going to be torn down for Magic Johnson's new soccer team coming in 2 years to downtown LA in Exposition Park. There was also Honda Center in Anaheim and also the Long Beach Arena in Long Beach, California. So, Shorty, kind of thinking about this, if the Sparks have another playoff game moved out of Staples, okay, maybe other than, what we've already listed with the Pyramid and perhaps SC or UCLA, what other venue would you want to see the Sparks go to other than those three I just listed, and why?
I would prefer the Honda Center, because unlike the other arenas, the Honda Center is basically the closest thing you could call to a professional basketball arena, because you talk about UCLA, USC, the Galen, and places like that. I mean, they're good. Actually, I liked when the LA Sparks played one of their playoff games at the Galen in 2012, when they were playing against I believe the then San Antonio Silver Stars during the playoff matchup. They played at the Galen, but of course, I have a thing with professional teams playing at a college arena. I don't like it because it kind of, in my idea, it kind of like undermines the pro sports team by having them play in a college setting. So as I brought up, the Honda Center, is the closest thing to a professional basketball venue. So I would have liked for them to play there. The only difference is the Honda Center would be even more further than the Pyramid at the Long Beach Center. So I know that would be hectic on fans to have to go all the way to Anaheim, just to see the team play. But ultimately, that's my choice.
I was going through the Sparks media guide a few days ago, guys, and there was a preseason game actually held in San Diego during Parker's rookie season at Viejas Arena, which, of course, is on the campus of San Diego State University. It drew about 4,000 people for that exhibition game that they had played, I want to say, against the Seattle Storm at Viejas, and I did not go to that game, sadly, and I probably should have now looking back on it. But, guys, out of the three venues I went to this summer, between Staples, Talking Stick Resort Arena in Phoenix, and, of course, Madison Square Garden in New York, I mean, if I had to, list between – now, you guys got to remember, I did not see a game. I really should have gone to see a game at the Garden, but I didn't have time to do so. But I did, though, see three games at Staples and a game at Talking Stick. And out of the two venues I saw games, the Staples Center, I think, just surpasses, the two venues. Okay, maybe not the Garden, but at least seeing a game, though, Staples – well, there was way more room at least to kind of move around, and because I kind of felt like this a little bit with how crammed Talking Stick Resort Arena in Phoenix actually is. So, Staples, I think, that's why it's called the Sports Entertainment Center of the world. It's a big venue, and there's a lot of room for you to move around and stuff. And of course, the Garden, that can't be touched because it is in New York and is one of the premier venues in the entire nation and the world. Guys, to kind of follow up on our opening tip-off story again, as we you guys may have heard, but again, both DraftKings and FanDuel, again, ruled today by a New York Attorney General, ruled as illegal gambling websites, not as traditional fantasy websites for sports, and also not ruled as a game of skill. Again, the New York Times had published an article about 20 minutes ago, again, saying DraftKings and FanDuel have in order to stop accepting bets in only in the state of New York. Now, Tanisha, let's get your final take on this story. And I guess those all. Why is it only New York and not the entire nation right now? Is what I would also ask as well.
Well, because I think New York might have stricter rules on gambling than any other, city in the U.S. So I think that's one of the main reasons, why that happened. Because of course you're not going to ban, the gambling in Vegas. It runs rampant there. I mean, that's what Vegas is all about. So definitely not going to ban it there. But I do think New York has much stricter rules. Therefore, when the news was released, these like pretty much shut it down. That's how the Kings in FanDuel.
Again, Crystal, the story just posted about 20 minutes ago again from the New York Times. Again, DraftKings and FanDuel have been ordered to stop accepting bets in New York State, not the entire nation as of now. Crystal, I know, though, that in California we have to play a different form of roulette, my favorite table game of all time at the casino, with playing cards, not an actual ball like it is in Vegas or anywhere else, and that's what kind of upset me about that. But, Crystal, your thoughts, though, about the new story coming out, though, again, that only New York cannot accept bets on DraftKings and FanDuel at this point in time. Your thoughts?
I don't know. I'm gonna agree with Shorty, unless maybe is that by chance where FanDuel and DraftKings was created? I'm not really sure.
I'd probably assume so.
Yeah, I don't know. That'd be the only thing. I would have to look that up, but I don't know. Maybe it is stricter rules. I mean, other than that, I wouldn't know. I know each state and city has their own rules when it comes to stuff like that, so I would have to look that up for sure. But I don't know. I mean, that's the only thing I could think of, so I'd have to agree with Shorty on that one.
Again, Eric, some late breaking news again, folks. But again, DraftKings and FanDuel, the two websites that again were ruled by a New York Attorney State General, again ruled as illegal gambling websites earlier in the day. Again, have been ordered to stop accepting bets in New York State only, not the entire nation or the globe yet. Eric, any final thoughts on this developing story?
Not any original ones. No, I'm pretty ignorant of the whole situation, but I think it has something to do with the fact that only New York's Attorney General made this ruling. It's not like he has jurisdiction nationwide. I mean, again, I have absolutely no idea, so don't take my word for it. I've got the Times article here. It says, "It is clear that DraftKings and FanDuel are the leaders of a massive, multi-billion-dollar scheme intended to evade the law and fleece sports fans across the country," Mr. Schneiderman said, adding, "Today we have sent a clear message. Not in New York and not on my watch." Ooh. So, strong words there.
Interesting.
Fighting words from the Attorney General. But yeah, I really have no idea.
Man, he's dropping the hammer. And again, folks, a story breaking about 20 minutes ago from the New York Times. Again, both FanDuel.com and DraftKings.com have been both ordered to suspend their operations of taking and accepting bets for their one-day or one-week fantasy sports gaming due to, again, a ruling put down today by a New York Attorney State General, again, that they have been deemed and ruled as illegal gambling websites. And again, they are not in any way, shape, form, or size affiliated with a regular fantasy sports league. And again, we had talked about this at the top of at the top of the show. But again, there is two different variations, again, folks, of the fantasy sports food chain or food chart. I can say again, you have the one half again, which is the ordinary, regular, your regular fantasy football leagues that you just play for shits and giggles with your friends and family or whatnot, and you may play for money here and there. Where FanDuel and DraftKings, again, were both set on putting in a small wager to play, and of course, and also as a 1 day or 1 week long season. You were not locked in for the entire NFL season or the entire NBA season. Again, it was 1 day or 1 week, and you were done. And depending on how you did, you'd win some money. But also as well, folks, again, there was also a report that was confirmed as well that a employee of one of the two companies, again, admitted to winning over $300,000 by tweaking his lineup in his game to take home that $300,000. And also, as well, employees of both companies are also under scrutiny for allegedly also playing on the rival site, either playing on FanDuel or DraftKings and working for the other company as well. with that story. With that, though, folks, we have hit our final buzzer. We are out of time for the night. We'll be off tomorrow for Veterans Day, and also I'll be celebrating my new fill-in job as well up at Knott's Berry Farm to see Snoopy and the Peanuts game. But with that, though, folks, until Thursday night, we'll be back here on Thursday. Until then, have a safe night. Drive home safely. Thanks for stopping by and joining us, and good night. This has been the WNBA 365 Network. We are a WNBA covering anything and everything revolving around the WNBA and the women's basketball universe. Enjoy your Veterans Day Wednesday off, and see you back here on Thursday for Eric in Illinois and the three folks out here in Southern California. For Crystal, Tanisha, and Callan, we'll see you folks back here on Thursday. See you then. Good night. Bye-bye.